Welcome to the 2007 SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Last year in the ultra-competitive Spec Miata class, 48 cars streamed down into Turn 1 in somewhat unpredictable weather. Pole sitter Andrew Cadell held the point as the cars hammered into Turns 1 and 2. There was a bit of a mess behind the leaders, but guess what? The fun was just beginning. For instance, a huge spin in the middle of the pack for Steve Johnson, right in the middle of the front straight. Somehow everybody avoided him. From on board, Matt Cross in fourth. The battle for second was superb. Tony Rivera and the 12 of Brad Rampelberg simply never let up, and Cross had to just wait and wait and wait. Finally, Rampelberg was able to secure second, but at the front, Cadell completed a great year. A birthday, a high school graduation, and a goal. Spec Miata has quickly evolved into one of the most intensely competitive classes in SCCA national racing. This is only the second time it'll be held at the Runoffs, but it is already producing a lot of conversation. Why? Well, drivers like Brad Rampelberg, in only his first Runoffs last year, he notched a silver medal. That means he's only got one step to go on the podium. Is he up to it? He thinks so. But he's got to deal with Steve Gorieron, the Northeastern Division champion, a perfect 6 for 6 in division, a slew of other wins. But he told me earlier he'd give up every one of them to see gold here today. But he's got to deal with the defending champion, Andrew Cadell. Had a great run last year. Not a lot of racing this season in club racing. That's because he was on his way to taking second in the MX-5 Pro Cup. But he's back to defend. He is fast. Tony Rivera is one of the busiest guys here this weekend, running 3 classes. He's had 2 wins already this season here at Heartland Park, one in a GT2 race. He has track knowledge and a ton of speed. Watch for him to go to the front. Another guy who you can be sure to find at the front is last year's pole sitter, Blake Clements. Had an absolutely great run going, then got tanked and spun out, ended up finishing 11th. You know he feels he's got unfinished business. And Eric Foss, what a remarkable story. His first runoffs was last year. He ended up 5th. And also last year in the MX-5 Pro Cup, sat on a pole. He too is very quick. It's going to be a great battle in Spec Miata. This is the 44th running of the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship Runoffs. One race in 25 classes to determine a national champion. But it is only the second year for Spec Miata, a class that has been incredibly popular on the regional level, leapt to national prominence, put on some great racing last year, and this year is anticipated to be one of the most hard-fought of all 25 races. Welcome to the 2007 SCCA National Championship Runoffs presented by AT&T. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Dan Binks in the booth, Sandy Hang and John Bizignano down pit side covering all the action down there. And we've got to talk about this track. Only the second year we've run here at Heartland, but that means it's the second time these cars have run at the Runoffs. A different track than last year. How will it affect the Spec Miatas, Dan?
This track, the new parts that they have fixed is Turn 1, Turn 2, which was the big traffic jam last year. And also getting out onto the back straightaway is going to be a big deal. Turn 6, Turn 9 is going to be huge. These cars are going to be a lot faster through Turn 9. And the autocross section all the way down here on this end will be exciting. These guys are going to be too wide, beating and banging all the way to the end.
Lap time 7 to 8 seconds faster than they ran in qualifying last year. It should be spectacular. Spec Miata doesn't get any closer than this.
It doesn't. Low-cost production cars. Basically, they can put roll cages in them, change the brake pads, a little bit of tuning here and there. Very, very close competition here.
Some of the best weather we've had this day. The pits are sunny. Biz.
Yeah, it's sunny and actually a little bit warm down here, and the wind's died down a little bit. But there's a beautiful car out there, 00 McLaren Orange of Jacques Drouchet. He's only 23 years old, but he owns the 1973 66 car that Mark Donohue ran at the Indianapolis 500. They use it for charity events. They raised over $500,000 at their last one. But just the other night, it was at David Hobbs' Roast in Milwaukee. I don't know how they could have a David Hobbs Roast without me being there. It's the first I've heard of it. Sandy Hang.
Well, also another car we need to talk about is the number 96 of Mark Webber. He is way, way back in the end of the pack. starting 32nd. But you wouldn't know it. This guy is a former champion at the runoffs in D Sports Racer. He has been a little bit sick. He's had bronchitis, so coming into the runoffs, he was run down. His practice times weren't very good. He said actually yesterday he started feeling a little bit better, so he's feeling healthy, feeling good, and he's hoping he can move a little forward. But don't expect great things, he says. He's still not quite as quick as he'd like, but there is a former champion in the class.
Be fun to watch Mark Hoover work through the pack, and we'll get the opportunity to do that in just a couple of seconds when we come back to Heartland Park, Topeka. Welcome back to Heartland Park, Topeka. The pace lap underway for Spec Miata. 18 laps or 30 minutes, either or, coming at you here at this great event. And Spec Miata should put on a spectacular show, and it is a huge field. We want to get you right to that starting order. And up front on the pole is the defending champion. He improved his qualifying effort by 1 spot for Andrew Cadell. So that's the story for him. He's even improved over that. You've got to be looking at him. This guy who was silver last year qualified second, Brad Rampelberg. But the 06 pole qualifier, Blake Clements, starts back in the 8th spot. So talk about having your work cut out. I think he's one of them.
Yes, he will be. And we're getting reports maybe one car is going to start from the pits, number 70.
All right, so Mike Casetta has got a little bit of a problem there. We'll watch for him. Also, a couple of notables qualified 4th this year. Steve Guerreri, we talked to him at the top of the show. Last year, he qualified 37th and came home in 24th. Big change in qualifying. Should be pretty good to watch him run. And the guy who qualified 3rd last year, the 77 of Sammy Balafar, has qualified 6th. So some guns at different spots throughout the field. Plus Bob Stretch is in this one, the 00, very colorful car. We'll be watching him. He has had a lot of success in speed touring car pro racing. Somebody lighten the brakes up going into the autocross section here on the pace lap. Here comes the field down into the last couple of corners. And this track right now, it's pretty much totally dry for the first time today, but you got some problems in terms, obviously, of the rubber and everything being washed off by that torrential rain. This track is very unfamiliar to these guys.
Right, it's still wet. You can see on the left side of the track there it's wet. In turn 1 it's wet over the bumps and over the drag strip. It should be wild when they get there.
All right, watch for them as we're looking for the green here for Spec Miata. There is the field. They are ready to swarm, and the green is out. Let's see what happens. Boy, very close as they come up to the line. Rampelberg, Cadell in that white Miata. Boy, they're really holding station. Now a couple of people fan out, 3 abreast over the rise. Cadell with Rampelberg on his left shoulder. So far, so good. There's the number 8. Very colorful car working through the field as well of Richard Weiss. But it's Cadell. Oh, and there we go. First one to give it the loop. Try and save it. Nicely done by the 52 of Tony Rivera, one of the quickest guys in the track, one of the busiest guys here this weekend, running 3 classes, including this one. And that's not the way you wanted to start this.
No, he's going to be disappointed with that. These guys are going to start driving away from him. There's no way to get back to the front out. 30 guys past you.
No, not in a class that's this close, absolutely. Cadell leads them in. Rampelberg right there in 2nd spot. You can see the rest of the field here. I mentioned Bob Stretch. I said 00, and the 00, of course, is Jacques Desang. So one of those orange cars, but this is the 2 guys that were at it last year, and they're at it again this year. Up front, Cadell and Rampelberg, white versus blue.
Yeah, what they have to be really careful here is not to get over and run off into this dirt here. You can see a lot of cars in the earlier groups have been doing that, just like this guy might. And it's really, really slippery over there.
Made a nice save of it. Eric Foss, the red car. Look at this.
Little contact.
Yep, little grind right there. The 26 is Stephen Ott. The silver car gets a bit of a rough ride on the outside of the turn. There was a lot of speculation when this one started today that the happiest guys here might be the Miata part sellers.
Yeah, I'm sure they called everybody in for Monday morning. They're going to need to take all the orders for fenders and headlights and everything else.
Lots of OT for you guys. All right, wow, that's a great shot heading down into that last turn. And Rampelberg, the blue Miata, take a peek. Not quite there yet, so tucks back in behind Cadell. Foss right behind him, that red Miata in the 3rd spot. Guerrerian in 4th, and Valafar up into the top 5 right now. And Clements has jumped from 10th to 7th, so a good start by Clements.
Yeah, these cars are 2 wide through here, trying to be 3 wide. That's not going to work. You still see the water up at the top there running across the track. They just have to be making sure they're going straight through that water, and then they should be okay.
Just the odd spot, like you said, offline a couple of places. Otherwise, it's not bad. A little dampness there. If you get over there, you're in trouble anyway, I would think.
Right, we've seen a couple guys go too wide, leaving turn 3 and try to take the inside of turn 4 away, and it's just big trouble.
Big bobble by Cadell as he turned into turn 5. That's given Rampelberg a run up the outside, but Cadell's got the line for the tight, very tight and extremely important turn 6. And by the time he got there, he got everything settled up and was able to get through there. But turn 6 nowadays, with that 8-9 change, 6 could be one of the most important turns on the track. Absolutely.
What it does is it gets you down to turn 10, 4, 5, even 10 miles an hour faster than you used to do it.
And it's a slight uphill climb on the exit, so in a momentum car like these, one bobble and it can just kill you. And Cadell is doing a very nice job right now. Rampelberg and Foss, a little bit of a gap, but Gorian is quickly closing that back up again. And this is classic Spec Miata racing. Then a bit of a gap from Gorian in 4th to Sammy Valifar in 5th. There's a good look at Foss sitting there in 3rd and just sort of following suit in a way right now. I think this is kind of exploratory. Although Gorian there taking a little bit of a different line, trying to figure something out. But you're just trying to figure out where the grip is right now, what's working, what's not. And that is an aggressive move. Couple of very aggressive moves there. And Rampelberg, again, a little bit of a unique exit out of 14, but it gets him to the inside. And we've seen in some spots in other races today, there's a kind of dry on that side of the track, and he got a good run. It looks like Cadell's going to still have that inside line as they get to turn 1. Cadell locks the brakes up, though, and that's enough. Rampelberg across the nose, and Rampelberg, the new leader, with Cadell slotting into 2nd, Foss still right there in 3rd.
It looked like Rampelberg had plenty of power, and I think he will pull away here.
All right, so Rampelberg looking good right now, but it is close quarters action as expected in Spec Miata.
The Sports Car Club of America National Championships have always been about friends and family, but in Spec Miata, that's taken to the extreme. We have 3 families racing in the one class. First of all, we have father and son teams, Charlie and Chris James, the James team. Father isn't worried at all about running close with his son. Then Jason and Steve Ott. Mom worries about having both sons on the track at the same time. But when it comes to Mark and Matt Pombo, Dad won 2 national championships, and the whole family is used to coming to the track since they were 4 years old. Yes, there's a lot of competition amongst these family members, but when the flag drops, they have to go home, and in between races, they have to remain family.
Yep, fierce competitors, no doubt. Here's number 14, Mark Pombo, currently running in the 7th spot and putting together a very solid run at this stage. And interestingly enough, the guy that's right there is Ott. Yeah, the other from one of the other families right in front, the 26. So they're not only are they families that race each other hard, these guys are running very quickly, 6th and 7th respectively in the national championship. And Eric Foss has the windshield wipers on. I wonder if he maybe got a little sideways and hit the stock by accident.
Probably had a tank slapper and hit the...
Oh, we got 2 cars off. There's the 33 of Andrew Rushing. Can't quite pick up the car behind him at this stage.
Yeah, it looks like both of them got over that curb in there, and then we've seen cars go into that side of the track and can't get out.
And you can see he's just spinning the wheels. It is so wet and muddy with just torrential rain overnight and most of the morning. And you get off the track here, it is just a quagmire. And he is just stuck spinning his wheels. I think he's just giving it up. And you can smell the mud that he gathered up on the front of the car. Meanwhile, up front, Rampelberg continues to maintain the lead, but it's not like he's just driving away right now. He's got a couple of car lengths in spots. Of course, accordion's up under braking in the leg. It's still Cadell, the defending champion, sitting 2nd, and Foss right there in 3rd.
Yeah, these 3 cars, all these cars are very, very close. You're not going to gain any power or anything on these guys. They just, you have to outdrive them, hit your marks, no mistakes. That's the key. If you make any mistakes, the guy in 3rd can win this thing easy.
Absolutely. That's the whole idea. And we've got a full course caution. A full course caution, those 2 cars up against the wall. And as you said, Danny, we've seen other cars get over there. It's the old hook slide scenario. And it's in an impact area as a result, so you have to get these cars moved. So a full course caution. And now if we could see exactly what unfolded.
Yeah, just lost it. And then, that guy might have got a little help. Yeah. and then no place to go, and just ran into the other parked car there.
So they are parked, the wreckers are on scene, and we're going to get these cars removed into a safe area. And so they might even be able to continue if they didn't get into the wall too hard, and see how that unfolds. So the pace car, the VW, the official pace car of SCCA, is going to be pulling onto the track and bringing the field under control. Rampelberg, Cadell, Foss in the 3 medal positions right now. Balafar got around Gorian before that yellow came out, and he has picked up 4th. Gorarian is now in the 5th spot. Then Ott, Pombo, Clements, Reynolds, and John Phillips, your top 10 as they come down the front straight, and the pace car will pick them up.
Yeah, I'm sure these guys don't want to be running under yellow, but you know, when you have corner workers and tow truck guys and all those people out on the track, you just need to be super careful.
No, it's a safety issue, and again, it's one thing, you know, but if you get off track, it's so wet off track and off the line, etc. It's just a little sketchy out there if you got anybody on the track. So let's go back and show you the key pass at this point when Rampelberg was able to get around Cadell and pick up the lead. Rampelberg the leader now in that blue Miata, Cadell the white Miata, and here's how that pass unfolded, Dan.
Yeah, it looks like Cadell might not have got a great shot out on the front straightaway, and the 4 car there just got a good shot. Gets wide, the 30 goes in there, he just doesn't have enough to stick it inside there and lets the 4 car go.
Well, that is one thing. If you get on the outside going into that turn, the guy that's pinched to the inside, the radius into the turn is tighter, so you've got to slow down more, and you can make that work, obviously.
Right. He sort of forced his issue there. You know, with the water on the track, you just can't go too wide there. It's just really tough. All
right, and for Andy Cadell at the top of the show, we talked about the great season he had last year, and he was on pole and sits second, Biz.
Well, we're actually standing with his father, Roger. And Roger, you said that you didn't want this caution because the 2 front cars were pulling away a little bit. Just a little bit of a cushion there.
Yeah, we'd like to see Brad and Andrew take off and run away from the rest of them and settle it later would be great. And but we'll see what we can do. We have pretty good horsepower in the car, and losing the handling just a little bit, but we'll be okay.
Well, in talking to your son on the grid, he said, you know, I'm not fully recovered from my off that you had during early on in the week, and the whole one side of the car is, you know, pretty well banged up. Mentally, is he as sharp as you'd like to see him out there?
Oh, absolutely. He'll do fine that way. The car is, we didn't have a chance to really shake it down as well as we'd like to after that, but mentally he's a pretty tough kid that way, and he's in pretty good shape.
Well, Dad hopes that the 2 front leaders can break away and get a little bit of a cushion here, something very unusual in Spec Miata.
All right, Biz, but that's going to be delayed a little bit. You see there's a black flag on the corner stations, and that means they're basically stopping the race. They'll bring the cars down into pit lane, park them, get that cleaned up, then get them back out again for racing on a clean track. And we'll step away for a moment while we're under the black. We'll be right back.
Andrew Cadell, last year's champion at the Runoffs, is so serious about defending his title that, well, during practice he tested the car, actually pushed it to the limit here, and you can see the damage from turn 2. He also had an incredible opportunity after the Runoffs to run in an exclusive Mazda MX-5 Cup, and I know that was an incredible opportunity for you. How does preparation like that help when you come back to the Runoffs?
You know, getting out there and racing the Pro Series and racing with those pro drivers, you know, they teach you a lot more about what you can do in the car, and I think it helped me, and come back here, and you know, we're running pretty good, and I think we'll do all right.
Well, he was second in that Cup last year and first at the Runoffs. He's hoping for a repeat here today.
Well, he certainly has been awfully impressive. Even with that off, he came back, as we talked about, put the car on pole. So you know the car is quick. He's obviously been driving it pretty well. Rampelberg did get in front of him, but obviously this is one of those scenarios. Now these cars, we talked about the spec aspect, Spec Miata, one of them is tires. They all run the exact same tire, so you have to wonder, is this helping them in terms of this race to cool those tires off and be able to go after it if they're going to stop? I would think if it's a spec tire, it's a relatively hard compound, and they should just be able to go out and let her book.
Yeah, from what I've learned on these tires, it sounds like they can run them for several races. I'm sure the guys here at the Runoffs put new tires on it, but, you know, they're pretty hard. I don't think it's going to matter.
Now, here's what happened and that really precipitated all of this. One guy did it all by himself, and then the second one in got a little bit of help. and that's what really caused it. One of the drivers was Andrew Rushing. We just haven't picked up the number of that second car yet, but this is why. And we've already seen today a couple of cars get into that exact same area because of the hook slide tendencies through that sequence, so they had to clean it up. Let's check back in with Sandy Hang.
I'm down here with Andrew Cadell right now, and we're black flagged for a moment. I just want to catch up and talk to you. I know you lost the lead, but there was some cool driving out there. Walk us through what you were going through and what you watched happen.
Well, there's a lot of standing water out there, or not standing water, but there's some water in places that's really slick. And me and Brad, we talked about working together, and I think the plan went out the window there. He was racing me pretty hard out there, so we're just gonna go out there and do the best we can to get the lead back.
Okay, that's Andrew Cadell, currently running in second place, but he is going to try to get the lead back. Let's go to Biz.
Well, I'm with the leader, number 4. Brad, you look like you had an awful lot of power coming out of the last turn onto the pit straightaway here when you went for the pass. You said you're on your 3rd motor this weekend.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we've really been working hard to find the right power. This is a spec class, and we're going to take every little bit we can get. It's actually, there's a river running right down through the apex of the corner down there, and you got to square it off just right. And Andrew's taking just a little bit of a different line, allowing me to get back to power just a little bit sooner. So I think that's what got the pass done, going down into 1.
You think it's going to dry up? I mean, you have a little bit of extra time now that you're sitting here.
Yeah, I hope so. There's a river there and a river at the exit of 2, which is kind of the fast cornered out here. So as soon as we get the track dry down there, then we'll work on getting the track dry down in 2 and see if we can, Andrew and I can work together to kind of pull away from P3.
Now, when you say work together, how long does that last? How many laps will you go down to until it becomes each man for himself?
Well, that's really the $64,000 question, isn't it? So I hope we can get 5 to go and pull away, and then we can race it. But we're on different teams, so you never know what can happen.
All right. Well, they've kept it clean so far, guys.
Well, you know what? You know how as far as that goes, that only works at the beginning. If every man for himself as we get going here, there's no friends in this business.
Welcome back. Spec Miata at the runoffs, and if you're just joining us, here's what's unfolded. Andrew Cadell, the white Miata, was on pole, but you see Rampelberg on the outside, nose to head, but Cadell had enough for him as they headed down into the first turn, and Cadell took the lead. However, that didn't last real long because, as we just heard, Rampelberg got a good run out of turn 14, was able to come up along the outside, and that gave him a little bit of a wider arc into turn 1 when they got there. And watch right here, you see a little brake lock up from Cadell as he realized he had to woe it down. That was enough, and Rampelberg just sort of slips across the nose and pulls out. Then a couple of incidents, one all by himself, and then here the 33 of Rushing got some help, and they get into the barriers, and where they've hit, others have hit earlier. SCCA has decided that is an impact zone. They brought the field in under the black flag, and they are getting that incident cleaned up, and then we'll be going back to racing shortly here. The field ready to go in pit lane, and they want to get this one underway. And I'll tell you what, we started, obviously, you've got all of these cars in a 30-minute race. Now it's basically going to be a much shorter race. This is going to be just an intense sprint.
Yeah, it's going to be a 4 or 5, 6 lap shootout at the most, and all these guys have been chomping at the bit to get racing again.
Yeah, we'll see how long the Rampelberg-Cadell working together theory, which Cadell said already has gone out the window, and Rampelberg apparently is willing to work with Cadell as long as he can do it from the front.
Yeah, right. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
I know how some of those team working togethers work.
I bet you do.
Yeah, they only work so long.
Yeah, Rampelberg. Yeah, I'll work with you as long as you're in my mirrors.
As long as you help me.
So here we go. The field is coming out, and of course you see that all the folks in white down there in the pit lane, well, those are the pit and grid workers, and they're all part of the volunteers that make the SCCA work. It's not just the drivers on the track. This is a national championship for all of the volunteers, and the grid workers are the folks that get these cars on track.
The volunteers at the SCCA Runoffs here love to have a great time, especially the volunteers on the false grid. A theme every year. Why are they dressed up like that? The theme is chauffeurs. It's not just older folks that are volunteering. DJ here is one of the youngest volunteers. Why do this?
Just the fun and being able to see all the drivers before they go out on track. It's just exciting.
Keeps you busy?
Yeah, we keep pretty busy.
And that's club racing. It's not just drivers and cars. It's a lot of folks and families having a great time.
Well, SCCA is a club, and it's got some 50,000 members, and the entire purpose is to come and put on motor racing events, from road racing like this to solos, autocross type events to rallies, rally cross. They do so much, but it's a volunteer program. This is amateur racing, and everybody here is an integral part of the program. And without all of these volunteers here making it happen, it doesn't happen. And for all these drivers, you'll see on these drivers, on the cars, there's a lot of thanks to the workers. Well, they know the reality too. Now, you got to know what kind of power you have at a racetrack as well, and there is a unique creation.
With so much emphasis on this one race, teams look for every advantage they can find to get as much power and performance out of their cars. Here on the chassis dyno, the drivers will rev their cars up as fast as they can to see how much power and torque they're making. From there, they can manipulate the electronics or adjust the carburetors to get maximum power.
And what they're doing here is they're checking the acceleration all the way through the RPM range, and it gives them a power number, and they can compare it to another car, and they can also compare the drag that the thing has when it slows down. And it's a really helpful bit of information for these guys.
Well, they can also run it through the gears, so they can find out what kind of power and torque they're getting to the rear wheels in each gear. So that can really be very helpful, Ken.
It can. These guys have to use all the same gears, and they basically have to use the same engines for every car here. So you're looking for fine-tuning of the engine components.
And we're about to fine-tune the race in terms of going back to green. Here we go. Rampelberg leads them out. Cadell right there, Foss, Guerrerian, and Valifar, and we are green. So back at it here at Spec Miata for the national championships. And Rampelberg and Cadell down into turn one. Foss, the red car, staying right with him. Rampelberg finds a little bit to that section of track and opens it up just a bit.
That's where Cadell earlier had trouble or just took it a little bit easy. It looks like he's doing that now over crossing that water. He's just making sure that he's okay. But you can't be too careful. Foss will be right on you.
It's one of the interesting things about a spec classic. It's still, you know, the whole idea of spec classes is to keep the cost down. But we heard Rampelberger on our third engine. Obviously, the engines are spec, but every engine, no matter how spec it is, one's going to be a little bit stronger than the other one, and you could buy a bunch of engines and swap them out and find what you can. And Rampelberg must have found a good one. Meanwhile, Cadell second, and Foss looking very strong in third, Sandy.
Foss's secret weapon here. It's actually his friend Jason Saney, who won the MX5 Cup. And Jason is crewing for him, and he's also spotting. So he's up in the grandstand talking to Eric, and he's expecting to help Eric talk him through these last couple of laps.
Well, and you know who was second to Saney in the MX5 Cup is the guy in that white Miata right in front of the car he's crewing for. So I'm sure there's a little bit of intra-rivalry going on there as well. Foss is third, Cadell second, but Rampelberg out in front. Back at Heartland Park, Topeka, Spec Miata. The national championship is underway, and Danny, we're starting to see Rampelberg with Cadell right in tow have opened up a little bit of a margin over Foss, so maybe they are actually working together just a little bit right now. And you get a big enough margin at this stage, then you can decide it for yourself, as they have said. But we know that the MX5 Cup champion spotting for Cadell, or for Foss there in third. And you know, this is a road course. You don't often hear about spotters in road course racing, but it's something you're fairly familiar with.
Yeah, that's what we do for our Corvette drivers. We talk to them, tell them there's somebody else coming, or you know, the Audi's coming, or there's some traffic, or corner workers next to the track, or any of that stuff that can help. You know, when we had this wreck earlier, I'm sure he said, hey, there's going to be a yellow. You know, just take it easier. Don't let them pass you.
Speaking of passing, there goes the 26. That is Stephen Ott, and he has just driven it right down the inside of Steve Guerrerian and picked up fourth spot over in turn 6. Nicely done by Stephen Ott. And now Guerrerian's going to tuck right back in, and this is one of those scenarios where you're starting to see hand signals inside the cars, and they're like, no, don't pass me, man. Work together. We've got to run these guys down.
Yeah, that's always fun where the guy passes you and said, hey, line up behind me and give me a hand. I'm not sure that Mark's thinking that right now.
So look at the looking there, and oh, here goes Guerrerian going, all right. I'm not going to be down. Guerrerian, night. Oh, he almost saved it now. He's got to be very careful rejoining the track. This grass so slick, and does a nice job, and it's lucky to find a gap in the field.
Just put it right back in that spot like it was meant for it. I think the tires are dirty. He's going to have to get them cleaned off a little bit.
So right now, if you remember the focus on the families a bit earlier in the show, Stephen Ott is sort of carrying the way for those 3 family teams, running now in the 4th spot, and that is the 46.
Tom Kraft, he flew off there in turn 9 and was able to get it out. As we saw earlier, the other guys weren't able to get out.
Well, you can see you get off track here. Right now, the cars just look like they've been through a weekend of mudslinging, and it's just because this is so bad off track right now. And here's what happened.
Yeah, he just ran it in hot, got over the curb, and right there's a big bump, and it just spun on around.
Picked up a brake marker somewhere, didn't he?
Yeah.
And here's a look from another angle. What happened to Guerrerian?
Yeah, that was some great driving there. He just straightened it up, drove through the grass, said, I've lost these spots. I just need to get back on the track as best I can. Excuse me, I'm coming in right now.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That's called merging. That's how you merge. Meanwhile, Rampelberg and Cadell continue to lead. But even though it's maybe 3 lengths now, they just cannot completely shake Eric Foss up. Ott is 4th, Bombo is 5th. Rampelberg in the blue, Spec Miata continues to lead Cadell in the battle for the gold here at Heartland Park, Topeka. And these 2 guys now have found a little bit of breathing room over Foss. They've stretched it out just a bit. We're getting down near the end of this one, and that means that maybe this can be a mano-a-mano battle. But earlier in the weekend, we've seen that go wrong a couple of times. There's a bit of a wide line by Rampelberg, but we've seen a couple of times where the 2 leaders have taken each other out, and somebody behind has been able to come through and pick the medal up. Here's a look at some of the battling going on in 13th, and it is very intense. The 89 of Jesse Coombs, you can see a little bit of damage there at the back of the car. He's got that left rear bumper has been peeled back. So obviously some good close quarters racing. You expect nothing less than Spec Miata.
Looked like the yellow car there maybe was using the horn on him and knocked the rear bumper loose.
Well, and now he just pulls out and drives on by the 37 of Samuel Henry, and he makes that pass work. Right behind them is Jason Ott, another of the families right here, and then Charles Jameson, and then Aaron McSpadden in this queue of 5 right now duking it out for the 13th spot.
It's amazing these cars are that close. I mean, these 5 cars are running the same lap time within a few hundredths of a second.
Now, some serious tire squeal going on out there as these guys continue to do war. Coombs and Henry in that yellow car was able to get around Coombs and is now locked into that 13th spot. Coombs now a bit worried about the number 40 of Charles James just astern. That's turn 6. Boy, that's a crucial corner.
It is a crucial corner. You really need to be careful not to overdrive it in turn 6. If you get over the edge of those curbs, you're in big trouble. And then these guys will just drive by you down into turn 9 here.
Arguably last year without handily the most important corner. Oh, and look at this now. The battling has begun with about 3 minutes to go. And Cadell now is starting to take a run at Rampelberg. And sometimes when you're sitting in second and following, it can be a little bit easier on equipment. You don't maybe get the air to the radiators, but it isn't quite so hard. You're just following through, so you may have just a little bit better tire at this point.
Yeah, it won't matter on the radiator air or the brake air. It's just picking your spot where you are faster, and that's going to be hard to do. It looks like the 30 there just messed up a little bit coming out on the front straightaway. We can see if he can get a little bit of draft off him.
Oh, and Eric Foss has gone missing. The red car is gone, so Stephen Ott will leap up into the final medal position. He is now in the 3rd spot. Guerrerian is 4th, and Blake Clemens is coming up. Oh, and Aceta, a big incident. Boy, he's been off again. Has it just absolutely covered in grit. See what happened? Oh, yeah. Well, just what you'd think.
Just mowing the grass back there, and you're in big trouble. Everybody does the same thing. It just sucks you right into the wall, and there's nothing you can do.
So Celta able to get away with that one. And now you see, folks, why they had to stop and move those other cars, because that would have been big had they not done that. Now we should have 1 lap to go after this one, and I think Celta's done enough damage. He's just going to get that thing down into pit lane. There is the 48 of Eric Foss, who had been so quick, sitting in 3rd, looked like a potential medal for sure, and suddenly has pulled in and parked it. How horribly unfortunate. A great run gone awry for him, but for Stephen Ott, now suddenly maybe in the medals. Back at Heartland Park, Topeka, and no, that's not a replay. Same thing, one lap later. It's deja vu all over again. And Cadell not able to make the move again, but boy, he is all over Rampelberg.
Yeah, Cadell's going to have one, maybe two more spots. This is a good shot right here. He needs to get down inside of him, and then if he can't do that, coming out on the front here, I don't think he's going to have enough to get a run on him, and he's not. And he's just going to be able to settle for a silver medal there, it looks like.
All right, well, one more lap. Let's see if he's got a shot at it here, and that's the whole key. Here's the signal, 1 to go. And it's just the two of them right now. That's
going to be a real good deal for Andrew. He's got another whole lap to get a run on him. He's got to pick his spot. I think he's better than him. Maybe into 3 here. We'll see if he can pull up on him. He needs to shoot to the inside if he can.
He's going to have to make a very decisive move to make it happen at this point. As Raul there, that might have helped. As you saw, Rampelberg got a little loose. Can Cadell take advantage? Doesn't look like it. He's just trying to hound him, see if he can force him into some sort of an error. Into 5. Rampelberg's good there now. Ooh, Rampelberg does run a little wide.
And he couldn't do anything with it.
This is it, turn 6. No mistakes here for either of them. If you make one, it's going to be big trouble, and they both got out of that corner pretty well. Looks like Cadell did get a little bit better of a run, but we'll see if there's enough draft or if Rampelberg just has enough motor. Awfully close. Cadell did get a run. We'll see if he's going to be able to duck down to the inside. Cadell's crew obviously very concerned. See if he can make it work here. He was not able to do it, and Cadell has gone off. That is going to be it. His tires are going to be dirty now, and there's no way Rampelberg now just has to hang on.
Just get the tires cleaned off and finish second here. That you're not going to be able to do anything that far back with only 3 or 4 turns left.
So there's Cadell. He gathered it up, did a nice job of saving it when others haven't been able to do it, so kudos there. And hey, it's the Runoffs. You throw everything at it on that last lap, trying to carry every ounce of speed. And out of the final turn, Rampelberg, who was the silver medalist last year, turns it around, wanted to step up one spot, and he has. Rampelberg will get the gold medal in the 2nd year of running here at the Runoffs. The gold medalist slips to 2nd this year. Still a silver medal, not bad. And for Stephen Ott, a great drive in the number 26 to come home with the final medal, the bronze in 3rd, with Guerrerian, Reynolds, Pombo et al. Now, some good racing going on right here. There's the number 18. This is the battle for 20th. That's Cole Don right behind the 0 of Boxwell onto the front straight for 20th. And it is going to go to Boxwell.
Yeah, you just can't get off that corner and pull by anybody. Everybody's got the same power. You just can't gain anything on them.
As a matter of fact, Boxwell, the last lap, it was for 20th, it was for 17th, so a big change. A couple of people having problems in front of them. And here you go. Here are the 2 medalists, gold and silver respectively. After that stoppage, they did work together to break away. And I guess now we know why Rampelberg was willing to work together as long as he was in front. I think he knew he had a pretty good package.
He did have a great package. Both those guys, I would say, had equal cars, and they both drove as hard as they could. Andrew just, got off there on the last lap. I think it would have been very interesting through the 9, 10, 11 section.
All right, now keep in mind that the 2 crucial corners is where Rampelberg was very strong. Now here is where Cadell was throwing everything at it, Danny, and just too much.
Yeah, just too much. Got it off on the dirt there. Did an excellent job. One of the only cars that we've seen keeping it going down the road after he did go off there. Everybody else is wrecked.
And you got to believe Rampelberg, looking in his mirrors and seeing him off in the dirt there, breathed a huge sigh of relief and realized that may have been it. I may have a gold, and indeed he does. And we'll talk to him when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. In Heartland Park, Topeka, the Spec Miata National Championship has been decided, and the guy who won it is with Biz.
Well, we have the first place champion down here. First time on the number 1 spot on the podium. Second last year. Congratulations on a great run.
Thanks, John. I mean, it was a great race. We've been working hard all year to get this done. Andrew's a heck of a competitor. Raced me really clean. A couple of plays I made some mistakes. He could have gotten a little bit nasty, but he didn't. I really got to thank Jason Hoover from Hoover Speed Motorsports. He's really made this happen for me this year.
Well, congratulations to everyone on your team. Let me ask you, take us through the first pass there.
Well, I kind of, as we said before, I was kind of squaring up the last turn, and it really seemed to get a better run. And he just missed the corner, and I just got him, and then I knew I could control the race from the front as long as I kept driving well.
Okay, so what happened on the last lap then? That was a bit of excitement there too.
Well, he'd been a little better going out of 9 and going down into 10, and so I knew on the last lap I had to get a good run. Lap before, somebody'd throw some mud up at the apex.
Lots of mud.
Lots of mud. I went through it, just kept it on track. He didn't.
Well, Bonnie is coming here with your gold medal. Congratulations on a great championship. Let's go to our second place finisher with Sandy Heng.
Right now I'm with Andrew Cadell. Amazing run. I mean, that last lap, you went for it all, trying to get the lead back. Go through what you were thinking.
Well, I'd known from the race we were a lot better than an 8 or 9 complex there, and I trying to get a run there, and somehow somebody dropped a wheel there and put some mud out there. So ended up getting a little sideways and putting it off the track there, and then.
Well, you saved it. I mean, you brought her right back.
Yeah, we saved it. Just too bad we couldn't win this one. Great. And congratulations to Brad out there. But would have liked to win this one for a second year in a row.
All right, one heck of a show. Congratulations. Silver medal doesn't feel like gold, but you sure drove hard. Andrew Cadell.
Well, it was a great drive, but you could hear a little bit of disappointment there, thinking, boy, it sure would have been nice to have gotten this one. Now, let's take a look at our full field results, and it's a pretty good story. There's Stephen Ott leading the family group with the silver medal, Pombo, another of the family members there. Now, a couple of interesting things that are going to show up. They're a little bit further back in the order, but they were remarkable drives. And when we get to the next page, Bob Stretch came from dead last, did not have a time in qualifying, ends up 14th. And Mark Hoover, you remember Sandy talking about Mark qualified 32nd, was very sick earlier in the week, came from 32nd up to that very strong finish in 16th. And his company, Hoover Speed, just helped Rampelberg win the gold medal. That's pretty impressive, I think. Nicely done. Now, we talked about Stephen Ott and his remarkable run. He's with Biz.
We have a nice shot there, the bronze medal for Stephen Ott. You held on, stayed clean, not too much damage on the car. How was your race?
It was a good race. I had a good start. I didn't think I had a good start, but then coming into turn 1, the left line stopped and the right line kept going. So I was able to make up a couple of positions, and then Sammy and I touched a little bit and it went off. So a little worried, but the WL bunched him back up and it worked out well. The car ran great, Apex High Performance, driver source. Everybody.
Yeah, but you gathered it up, and on the restart, I saw you flying on the restart. It was fabulous.
It was good. It was a good restart. The car was hooked up well. I didn't quite have enough to keep up with Andrew and Brad, but it's the way it is.
Congratulations on a great third-place finish.
Danny, when we were in the break, you said this is a great class.
It is a great class. Actually, my son just drove one of these cars, and I think we might have to get one.
You're hooked. All right, well, there you go. Spec Miata, as always, putting on a fantastic show, and what a great drive. You can always expect sometimes a lot of carnage in these very close spec classes, but these guys did it beautifully. Just a few incidents, not much damage on the cars at all, and when it was all said and done, our 3 medalists put in some superb drives. Congratulations to them. For Danny, for Sandy, and for Biz, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us. A lot more action from the runoffs coming your way right here on Speed. And to Brad Rampelberg, a silver last year, gold this year. Nicely done.